morning, Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host for this morning. We have a quite interesting show. And it's a show that we're going to talk about some things that we always said we were going to do, and so far we haven't done them yet. But first we're going to talk about a holiday that is upon it, and it's Juneteenth. You know, and there's some myths in Juneteenth, and there's some myths in the celebration all the way around it. So let's spend a few minutes talking about it. First of all, we know Juneteenth is June 19th, and the Texas state law, which passed in 1970 by our legislator, says that, first of all, Juneteenth has to be celebrated on the 19th or the weekend prior to. Not after, but prior to. So this weekend there have been some events. There was one on Friday, there was one on Saturday, and there's one today on Sunday for us to celebrate. And there's also one on Tuesday. So today, which is Sunday, at the E Center. At the E Center, there's going to be a Juneteenth celebration, and it's from 3 to 9. It's for everybody to come. There'll be something for every age group, and I mean every age group. So you should need to come out and celebrate at the E Center. Also on Tuesday, Philemon Brown, they will be having a Juneteenth program at the Killeen Community Center from 12 to 5, excuse me. And it's going to be more of a family thing. They're going to have like, the police officer, actually civilian, of Killeen PD, and he's going to talk about your phone and the lovely apps that your children have on their phone that they should, as Rodriguez, that they should not have on their phone. He's going to talk about the drop screen. Yeah, kids, we're going to talk about the drop screen, the screen that you all have behind the screen. You know, yes, we know about it. Really, we do. We still know your code to get into it. But they're going to talk about a lot of things that deal with the family. But what I want to talk about Juneteenth is some of the things that we say now, and they're not true. Flat out, they're lying. That's just it. Okay, as we know, January 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation was passed and slaves were free, except for, you got to remember, the United States was 2 states at one time. There was a Union state and there was not a Union state. Texas was not a Union state, so therefore those slaves were not free. They weren't free for one reason and one reason only. It's because the crops needed to be done, and they weren't part of the war. So they weren't free technically at that time. So 2 years and 6 months later, which would be 1865, June 19th, General Granger arrived in Galveston to take over the army. At that time, he read the proclamation and let them know they were free. Now, a couple of things happened. First of all, they were happy as I don't know what they were free. So they did different choices. Then after the happiness of they were free, the nightmare began, because you left home to hear this speech as a slave, and you knew where you lived. You go back, you're not a slave, so you technically don't have a job or a house, because you had to decide something. Some of the slaves booked. They got out of Dodge. They went north where their family is, and they went to find their family up north. And that's another strange story, because they'll tell you they went to Canada, which is true and not true, because if you know your history, and most likely you don't know, Detroit was not part of the United States at that time. Detroit was part of Canada, and it was called Detroit. So that's where they went. But the ones who stayed, yes, they had a party jubilee. But now let's go to the foods, is what I want to talk about. The red. You know, we're the ones who say we drink red soda, red juice, Kool-Aid. There's a significance in the red. And it's not just because it's a black thing. We drank something red to give homage to the ancestors that did not make it. Those who did not make it on that ship, they were thrown away, cast aside, left on the island. The red is for there. That's what we do the red for. So when you say, I do all this red thing, no. You need to know there was a reason for it. And it was for the blood that was shed by ancestors who did not make it across. So that's what the red Kool-Aid and also the red, what you might not know is it wasn't Kool-Aid, because it was not. It was watermelon juice. And, some of us will say, I don't drink watermelon juice. Well, I do, because we did. And the green. We always had to have some green. And if you're from the South, more so than the North, there's always had to be something green on your plate. We thought it was just because grandma or whoever was being mean and you just got to eat this. No, it's a history behind that, because the green represents the crops that were grown. So it's the harvest. So we ate the green because it was the harvest of something we grew. So that's why it was always having something green on your plate. Now the meats. Let's get rid of the myth of they gave us the scraps and we made food out of it, such as pig feet and all that. That's not true. As Africans, we knew how to be resourceful with every part of the animal. And I mean every part of the animal. If you go to Alaska now, if you go to Africa now, you see they eat goat's feet and everybody else's feet. But they were resourceful in using all of the animal, all of it. So the yuck about I don't eat pig feet, and yuck, I don't eat all these chitlins and all that, it wasn't scraps. It was things that we knew how to do because we were resourceful. The other meat that belongs to us that you might know is brisket. Brisket was not eaten by Anglos because they thought it was a tough piece of meat. But if we all know, we're the ones who will cook meat to death. You know, we cook meat till it falls off the bone. So what we did with that piece of brisket was not called brisket then. We cooked it for a long time on the grill. We had grills because we didn't have a stove inside the shack that we were forced to live in. We cooked outside. So after we cooked the meat, as you would say, to death, as we would say today, we cooked it to make it tender, to make it edible, which is now Texas' favorite, but it's ours. Those are the things that we don't know because no one tells us. We get fed this other story and we go, oh man, I can't eat that. Oh, no. Well, no, we need to embrace those things because they're part of our heritage and they're part of our positive heritage. They're not negative. So when people, you don't eat this and I don't eat that, you might say, you're kind of like me. I don't eat brisket, so I don't like the taste of it. I don't care what you do with it. You can cook for 13 hours and I don't want none of it. But it's not because I think the history of it, I know the history of it, but I just don't like the cut of meat and I'm not going to eat it. And that's it. But we need to know what we're talking about instead of just blurting out something. Instead of just saying something because someone else told you and someone else told them. If you remember and you realize our history is often distorted because the truth no one wants the truth to come out. Lately, I've been drinking watermelon juice like forever. And I went to HB one day and they had watermelon juice in the store. I was angry. I was mad. I'm like, how dare they do this? So I picked it up and looked at the ingredients. I'm like, yuck. I did. I'm like, ugh, okay, for real? I'm just serious. Put that, and I wasn't going to buy it. I was curious of what's in it, but I was upset when I saw that because that's ours. That's another thing, ours. I consider ours, taken and we don't, nobody's going to know we did that. And watermelons is a crop we brought to the United States. So we need to remember that. Those are ours. And those are things that you hear today, you hear other things about them. Such as I said, us eating scraps. No, we didn't eat scraps. We just made use of the whole animal. If you ever go to Alaska, Alaskans are the only ones who could kill a whale. Why? Because they use the entire whale. It's not legal for anybody else to do it but them because they use the entire whale. So us, as far as pig feet and all those other things, we ate them because we're resourceful. We ate them because we know how to use the entire animal. So yes, Juneteenth was a day of celebration, and those were the things we ate at that time as a celebration. But as we know, after that, sharecropping began because they needed their crops still, and we needed a job and a place to stay. So that is what we did on Juneteenth. But yes, it was a day of jubilee, but then it turned to a nightmare, like what we're going to do now. And then it became us against them because you need us more than we need you. So, it became that. And then, like I said, some slaves booked former slaves at the time booked and went north to find their family. So that's Juneteenth. That's the history of the food that we, quote unquote, don't eat anymore because it was scraps. It's not true. I'm not saying go out and eat it now, but the truth of it now. That it wasn't that. It was the fact that we use the entire animal, which makes us intelligent. Because not everybody can do so. So we did. So it's not, so forget the scraps and those other myths you found out in the red drink. The myth you got about that, throw that away because that wasn't a negative. And we need to learn our history correctly and we need to spread it whenever we can because if we don't, it will continuously be distorted and it becomes our fault. Not the kids' fault, it's our fault because we're not passing down the truth. We're letting everybody rely on something someone else told you or someone else told them and oh my goodness, it's gone somewhere. So that's going to be my talk about Juneteenth and the foods that we're eating at that time because like I said, we need to stop and start doing it right. Okay, on to my guests. I'm going to go back on my guests. Not on them, but something that involves them. I'm going to talk about it first. We're going to talk about no-knocks. Now, we've always known no-knocks existed. We did. We knew that. But we always assumed no-knocks were in big cities like Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, Fort Worth. We knew, okay, all those strange things only happened there. We don't have to worry about it. But 2014, there was a no-knock in San Antonio. White man. Police busted in his house. He shot and killed the cop. guess what? He only spent a couple of hours in jail because he had the right to defend his house. Okay, so we thought, all right, okay, that kind of makes sense. You do have the right to defend your house. Okay. All right, we were not okay with it, but we were like, okay, that's fair. Then, May of 2014, I put it this way, I was on my way to work and couldn't turn down the certain street I used to go to work because the police had it blocked off. You know, me at that time, very curious and want to know what the heck is going on. Later, I find out that the police did a no-knock on a man named Marvin Guy's house. We found out that their informant gave them the wrong diagram of the house, which makes him not a good informant. But anyway, they went into the wrong, gang busted into the wrong window. And he started doing what he knew to do. You scare me, I'm going to get you back. So he started shooting, and it was a big thing. Anyway, what happened was two cops were shot. One was shot in the knee, and the other was shot to death. And for some strange reason, Marvin Guy's in jail for capital murder. Can't understand that when he had the right to defend his grounds. Also, once again, he got arrested for drugs. That's what they came to do the no-knock for, but by some strange thing, there were no drugs in his house. Oh, man, really? Wow. So there were no drugs in his house. Also, if you read the police report, because me then again have to dig, there were 57 shell casings on the floor. Only 2 were his. Just think about that. 57 shell cases on the floor, but 2 were his, 2. That means he was a really good shot, and the police can't shoot. Because there's 57 shell cases on the floor and 2 belong to him, and the rest belong to them, they either were shooting in the ceiling, on the floor, or whatever. And it's kind of strange that his 2 shots killed one and wounded the other. It's kind of strange to me. I don't get it, and I don't believe it, but whatever. But Martin's still in jail on a capital murder charge till this day. And, you know, by accident, it's 2019. So if you think about, we've been paying, how much money we spend on this man today? Wow, we happily have a county that's paying for him to stay in jail. And if you think about it, it's got to be something wrong, because if not, he should have had a speedy trial, been whatever. The gun charge, you know, if he was charged with only holding the gun, he would have been out by now, because that only cares, 2 years or so? So he would have been out already. So we know there's more to it than that. Now he's in a wheelchair due to what happened to him when he was being arrested. So we have that, okay? And, you know, we were kind of reeling from that. But our community did not rally. Our community basically go, oh, okay. Oh, all right. And some people took the thing if he was a drug dealer. I don't care if he was or not. He didn't deserve that. I'm not going to go by what you did. It's what the actions were of them, you know. And if I know you in your house and your girlfriend in the house, I'm not going to do a no-knock, because I got y'all. If it's 5 of us and 2 of you, I could shoot some tear gas in your window, and you're going to come out, because you ain't no choice, because you're not choking and you're not going to stay in there, you know. But I think other things could have been done. But then again, the community didn't rally. Now, the other stupid thing happened. I'm saying stupid. I did say that. His girlfriend was arrested. Her house was searched. And she has a 9-year-old son. Guess what was on her report? That her son had an excessive amount of water guns. Okay, now if you have a 9-year-old boy... okay, there's a man on this show. What's an excessive amount of water guns?
I ain't never heard of that. I guess he had too many water guns, but he's a child.
Right, so I guess he could have super soaked somebody to death.
That don't even make sense.
No. But that was written on her search. When they searched the house, that was written. They actually wrote this, that they found. They wrote it. You know, and I looked at it, because me again, then I'm going to go in, because I can, and I will. And, you know, I thought that was hilarious. I even asked, are you going to take that off? No, we're not going to take, really, you're going to leave that on there. So she was held for 3 days, and that's all they found. That's it. That was it. You know, and I'm like, okay, to me, I had girls, and they had more water guns than that. I had 2 girls. They had more water guns than that. So, you know, I guess I would have been really trouble had I been arrested. Well, anyway, between 2014 and 2019, there were, I won't count the one we're going to talk about today. I'm not going to call Marvin. There were 16 no-knocks. So we know in those 16 no-knocks, nothing happened. We can average nothing happening. Okay, so let's fast forward to this year. This year, once again, we hear there's a no-knock warrant, search warrant. And this time, I'm going to go through the whole thing. Then this time, the first thing we found out, oh my gosh, what was he? A drug dealer. Okay. And I'm not going to say he was or wasn't, because that point doesn't matter. So, you know, that point doesn't matter. unless he had raped a child, then I would say, yeah, go get him. But anyway, but drugs, once again, was the whole thing. And according to the police, he started shooting first, which was said that James Reed started shooting first, and then they shot him and whatsoever. And it went on from there. So they called it justified. That he got shot because he fired first. Well, once again, I waited for the community of people, those people who always say, if this happened, this is what I'm going to do on Facebook. If this happened, I'm going to do, well, okay, none of those people came forward. So I guess they're all dead on Facebook because they never came forward. But here goes me asking the questions again. And the police department kind of knows I'm going to ask questions, so they just know I'm going to come. Anyway, I went to ask 50,000 questions, and I got crazy answers to which they know I didn't believe. But anyway, later on, we found out in the paper, we look up, and there's a cop got arrested and charged with tampering with evidence, which is his own gun, and also stepping out of line. And what I mean was they were all at the front door, and your smart cop goes to the back door. Goes to the back, and then we found out that he was actually firing his gun. So, you know what? If we as smart people put the story together, this is what it looks like. It would look like, yes, we have a search warrant for the no-knock to his house. He has drugs in it. He's a drug dealer and whatever. So we're going to go in the front door. Man, you go around the back and you go to the back, but you went around there without anybody knowing or telling you to go back there. And you got gun happy and you fired a shot, which would assume to the police that he started the shooting instead of the cop back the window. So it would seem, okay, if they see gunfire coming through the house, they would think that it was him shooting at them, and they shot back and end up killing him, which would look like. Now, after the shooting, I heard about it. So I went to the candlelight service. I went to it at his house. I was there that Saturday. I was there, and the strange thing, when I went, I didn't meet anybody. I was there because I didn't come there to meet any of the family. I did not. I just came because they were having it, and I wanted to know what was going on. And I walked up and I found out some things that I didn't like. When I walked up, I took somebody else with me, and she's older than I am. And we're from the same place, so I didn't get that. But anyway, the more we walked up, the more scared she got. She goes, you're walking up, and she's like, you see how they look? Who? The kids? Yeah, they are mine. I'll beat them off. They act up. She goes, yeah, but look at this one. Yeah, I'm thinking, these are my children. And to me, you're younger than me, you're my kid, and I can beat you up if I want to. But you're not going to be scared of me, because once we become scared of young people, we need to go away and die. I'm not scared of anybody that's younger than me, and I'm going to say whatever I got to say to you, and you're going to like it or not. But so she had the fear of, look at this, look at that. And then I had to step back and realize what she was talking about, because I'm like, okay. So if I look at it from her point of view, oh my gosh, I wouldn't walk up there. But I went up there and I'm talking to those that I knew, and I went away because I found out what I needed to find out. But later on, there was a press conference. I always wanted to know what was going on, and I didn't know how to reach the family. I did not know how. So I'm like, you know what? I could do my check-in on my own without the family, because I can. I'm a resident of the city. I can do this. So I did some research on him, and to find out a few things. But I finally went to the press conference. And I don't know if you know, but the city council was advised not to come to the no, they weren't told not to come to the police room. They didn't say press conference. They were told not to come to the rally. They were told not to come to. It was given other names other than a press conference. Because if I call it a rally, that could be violent. If I call it a picket, that could be violent, but a press conference isn't. So they gave it another name to make it negative, and they didn't come. But I came in and I met his sister, Jamika, and his brother. I knew anyway, but I didn't know that was his brother. And what's your name? I forgot. Larry. And I met him beforehand, but I never knew that they were brothers. But I met them both, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Your story needs to be told. Your brother's story needs to be told. So good morning. How you doing?
Fine, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. I have them both here. And also Larry's wife is here. She said she's not going to talk. But you know what? She just might have to. So can you let us know about that day? That morning, actually.
Well, the morning of my brother's death, we had received a call from his girlfriend, Eva, that they had just killed him. And once we arrived there about 10 to 15 minutes later, from the time that she called, because she called soon as it happened. And once we got there, they kept us at the corner of Hallmark and 2nd Street, right at that corner light where we couldn't go up towards his house where we can't see anything. But just from there, standing at that corner just already made me feel like something's not right, because you could just see the officers running back and forth in and out that house. But once we got there, you know, they trying to convince us it was an active shooter, which is something we never believed to begin with, because I know my brother, you know, like any other person, they rather go to jail and still die. You know what I mean? So once we got there, you know, all the officers, like I said at the press conference, when Chief Kimball stated that he informed the family of what happened, you know, they wouldn't tell us what happened. They just say that someone was shot, but they working on them. And it was a lady that was shot. They were just telling us anything, to be honest. Right. Which is, I know they just tell you stuff just so they won't be able to disclose information until they, you know, be able to figure out what's going on. But it's about 6:15 when we arrived there. And
in the morning?
In the morning.
Okay.
On February the 27th. And then by 8:30 that morning, we were supposed to meet the Chief Kimball at the police station so he could let us know what happened. Because like I said, we still haven't been told that he was dead. We already knew he was dead because like his girlfriend already told us on the phone.
Okay.
But the police never admit to us yet. You know, they just say it was an active shooter and that's it. When we arrived to the police station, they sent Detective Gooseby up there to speak to us about what's going on. So we asked him what's going on. The first thing he says, he don't know what happened. He just know that he's dead. That's all he said. We're like, well, that's not good enough. You know, who shot him? That's when we start thinking, well, shoot, maybe y'all killed him. Because at first we were thinking somebody on the streets, because people don't understand, a week before this, within that same week, his house was shot at. Oh. So you got to understand, just like with Marvin Guy, his house was burglarized a few days before. Understand that mentality of people. So, you know, they don't know what's going on, so we trying to figure out what is going on, but they really wasn't giving us no information. By the time we find out that they finally admit that you know, what happened, it was like later on that day, way later that day, like about 6 p.m. when the Texas Rangers had to show up. You know,
who called the Texas Rangers? The
KPD. Okay. First, they was doing it themselves in a few hours. They didn't call them immediately. I do want that out there. They called them a few hours later. Okay. So that means you got all this time to do whatever you need to do with the crime scene, but they supposed to left the crime scene alone immediately. That's what people don't understand. When another agency come in to investigate, you no longer can go back in there. They was in and out of that house that whole morning. So Rangers come in by 6 p.m. that evening. You know, so. You remember, he died 6 o'clock in the morning. So it added up to time. By the time they left, it's 10:30 that night. So, you know, just that day alone, it was just a hectic day. We stood out there the whole day. They trying to get us to leave. You know, this whole case, they just been trying to get us to leave it alone or go home and rest. No, I'm going to stay here until you bring them out that house. You know, so that day of the accident, of the incident, it was just, you know, call at 6 o'clock in the morning. My heart already was dropping. I already know something wrong, you know. So and then once she confirmed over the phone, it was just too devastating. You know, I didn't broke down immediately because I had to try to worry about what's really going on. Right. So and then once we all got out there, we stood there all day long trying to figure out stuff. Really didn't get no answer.
Where was his girlfriend? What happened with her?
They arrested her immediately.
What was she arrested for, though?
What they trying to arrest her for a paraphernalia or a drug possession charge that they claim they found something, I guess, on her property. I'm not for sure. But see, they really don't discuss her case, which is kind of odd to me. You know, according to her, she feel like they planted some stuff in there. I believe they did too, because with my brother, they just said he had paraphernalia. Right. So how he got paraphernalia, but she's supposed to have some drugs on her, so that doesn't make sense to me. You know, so she's still trying to hear stuff about her case, but she's not. You know, they're not really
pushing hers.
Yeah, right.
Because she's not important.
Correct. The main thing worrying about, you know, my brother, basically.
Okay, Larry.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna put it to you a whole different way than your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
You're an African American male. And this happened to your brother, who's an African American male. So where did that take you?
It just made me really become really aware of what black men in America is really up against in our opposition, and to know that I believe, in my opinion, that we are targeted, and to, you know, because when the man or the black male is absent, that leaves the mother by herself and the child or the little brother to grow up without that man figure, that father figure, that big brother figure, that discipline, the one who's gonna be there to take the family further into growth and development. So when you can get the male out the way, which is the one who's gonna preserve and fight for the family and protect the child, the brother, the sister, the mother, the daughter, then that leaves what I consider the enemy or our opposition to come and destroy and really take us off the map by controlling our women and our children through fear, through materialistic things and money. So I feel like what happened to my brother is also just another eye opener for all men in general and minority people in general to let us know that that they have a plan and they executing that plan each and every day, and they're gonna try to hide it behind what they consider law and order, because we know that the no-knock warrant is just another, like, it's like a military raid, like you going over there that they consider in third world and second world countries trying to find terrorists and things like that of that nature. And we know that a no-knock warrant, as we look at the history of it, it's not safe for the officer or the so-called suspect, because they both taking the chances of the suspects being killed or the officer being killed, as we seen in the Marvin Guy situation and my brother's situation. And we have former councilmen like Mr. Cole was already telling them before the Marvin Guy case happened, and even after the Marvin Guy case happened, saying and petitioning to the city officials and council members of telling them how this no-knock warrant is unsafe, and there's other ways that they can practice or serve warrants to apprehend what they consider criminals or suspects. So to me, it's just another excuse to justify homicide and what they consider law and order, and try to make the streets safe and a war on drugs. So
instead of using a no-knock, what would you think about just tear gas?
I think tear gas would be a good. It's another way instead of busting down somebody's window with a flashbang or just kicking down somebody's door, because we all human, and we all know that the society that we live in is so violent. And Killeen is one of the cities that where burglaries and home invasions is skyrocketing each and every day, is on the increase. So and then we know that we live in a world to where it's like when we go out, we lock the door. Car door, we see somebody coming, we hear up and go by our business, because we don't know if we're gonna be mugged or anything. So by us being human beings, and we still got that type of instinct within us, anytime you kicking, I don't care if you're police chief, judge, preacher, pastor, anything, if somebody come kick down your door, come through your window unannounced, you're gonna react in a way to make sure that you safe, your home safe, your family and kids are safe. The first thing in your mind is to kill. That's just that ain't got nothing to do with this case, but that's just a natural reaction.
So how did you feel when you found out that your brother got shot?
Like when I first found out that my brother got shot, my mother and my sister told me, woke me up, and it didn't register right at first. I was like, what? I'm like, nah. So they had went down there, but while they went down there, me and my wife getting ready to go down there. And I'm just thinking the whole time, because like my sister said, previous like a week or probably within a full week, his house just got shot up. And it was reported with Killeen Police Department. They told him that he allowed to protect his home and whatnot. So I'm thinking that somebody on the streets did it. So I'm thinking like, I'm trying to figure out who did it. Because now me, you know, I'm acting inside of him. I didn't. Not in my righteous self, my higher self, but now I'm in my lower self, to where I'm thinking like, I'm finna find who did it. I'm finna retaliate. It's my brother. So as we get there, me and my wife finally met her with my sister, my mother, and a few other people out the community and friends of the family. We was standing out there. We started trying to ask questions. We ain't getting no questions. Then my sister said like she seen like the judge come up there and stuff like that. So I'm telling them, I'm on the phone on my way there, I'm like, yeah, he's dead. Because I'm steady asking my sister and my mother, well, what did my brother's girlfriend told y'all on the phone? She was like, oh, he's dead. He was dead on the door. She had to move his body to get out for the police to come get her from the inside. So I'm like, what? So then we start putting it together. That's when we like we said, ain't nobody really tell us no answers. But like you said, we using our common sense. And what she told us, okay, the police killed him. So now we trying to figure out why y'all killed him.